Right now, though, let's turn to our top story for you. We have some new information to share with you in the violent attack that led to a former NFL star named Mark Sanchez getting stabbed and then later arrested. Here's his picture. You might remember Mark Sanchez from his days when he was a Jets quarterback. He played in the NFL for 10 seasons and is now a game day analyst. Here he is on Fox NFL's Rear View.
Who was the best defensive player or team that you ever played against?
Probably Baltimore. We get the ball backed up on like the 7-yard line after a weird kick return or something. First drive of the game at Baltimore. I drop back. We have a backup center in. They don't slide out to the slot. The next thing I know, ball's out. Ed Reed readjusts my neck.
According to court documents and hotel surveillance footage, Sanchez got into a drunken fight with a 69-year-old truck driver. Sanchez was in Indianapolis doing game coverage. The stabbing happened around midnight on Sunday outside of Sanchez's hotel. He approached a delivery driver, according to police, and started talking to him. The surveillance footage shows Sanchez running after the driver, and police say it also shows him throwing the driver against a wall and then onto the ground. The driver told police reportedly that he thought Sanchez was going to kill him. So he says he pulled out a knife and then stabbed Sanchez multiple times. Both of the men were hospitalized, treated for their injuries, and then released. We have a photo of the 69-year-old truck driver in the hospital. And before we show it, I just want to warn you, it's pretty graphic. Here it is. Fox 59 anchor Angela Gelati shared this image online of the victim. Sanchez charged with battery with injury, unlawful entry of a motor vehicle, and public intoxication. So let's talk about all the things that are going to come next for him. We got a tremendous power panel we put together for you this morning. Let's welcome our guests now. We have with us former NFL quarterback Charlie Batch, sports and entertainment law attorney Dan Lust, and civil and celebrity attorney Ben Chu. Good morning to you all. Charlie, let me start with you, please. Tell us about Mark Sanchez, if you would, please.
Yeah, Mark, former quarterback like myself, and he spent time with 6 teams, mainly with the Jets. And I'm familiar with him because of the 2010 season, whenever he led his team into Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship game. And we were off to a good start. We got him 24-3, but ultimately he led them back in literally a final drive defensively that we had to stop him. And we won that game 24-19. But as he moved on in post-career, he was an analyst for Fox. And I just literally had a chance to spend time with him 3 weeks ago as he covered the Pittsburgh-Seattle game here in Pittsburgh. And, you know, it just, when I see all of this is obviously disturbing. And my thoughts and prayers are with everyone involved.
Yeah, most definitely, Charlie. Let's talk a bit about whether he may lose his job next. Dan Lust, of course, I want to go to you on this. I'm sure there's an agent waking up worried this morning. Want you to weigh in on that, please.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, these jobs post-playing career are given to a handful of players, and it's certainly, we'll say a sensitive job. And even this past Sunday, Mark got replaced on the broadcast. So I don't think there's any guarantee moving forward. Obviously, it's a developing situation. We're learning more. But yeah, there's certainly no guarantee that Sanchez is back in the booth, be it next weekend, the week after that. These jobs are very hard to come by and saved for, a handful of guys in their post-playing career.
Dan, thank you for that. Ben Chu, want to go to you on the problems we know he's going to face in criminal court and the potential of any civil liability as well. You have experience dealing with big, public, messy cases. You represented Johnny Depp recently. Talk to us a little bit about what you foresee here from Mr. Sanchez.
Yes, Julie, as you point out, there are a lot of traps for him because what might help him in the court of public opinion might help him in the criminal realm will make it more difficult for him in the civil context. So they're very dangerous shoals he has to navigate, he and his counsel, in the next several months.
For sure. Charlie, let me go back to you about things that players and analysts need to be mindful of when they travel and go to different cities for work purposes? And you've done both. You're also a sports analyst like him. You work for CBS Pittsburgh and do the game calling there at a great station in Pittsburgh, CBS Pittsburgh, KDKA. So tell me, when you travel to these other cities, whether when you were playing or doing broadcasting work, what are the things that you're most mindful of?
Yeah, typically when you're as a player, you're already in the travel schedule as it relates to what the organization is doing. So you receive your travel itinerary on Friday. You understand you're traveling on Saturday. And if there are things that you need to be aware of, they will alert you during that time. But as you now see, the game is expanding globally. And when you do that, now you're getting international rules and things that you may be aware of as you're traveling into these countries. So this is just something that when you're an analyst aspect, you're typically into that city a little differently because now you're into the corporation travel policy. So he gets in there on a Friday, spends time with the home team. And then when the arriving team comes in on Saturday, then he'll spend his time with them in the afternoon, evening hours. So that's just typically how it works from player to post analyst.
Appreciate it, Charlie. Dan, let me go to you, please, on Mark Sanchez's perspective here. I'm sure he doesn't want to lose his job. He's got a good gig on TV, and this is a big mess, and other folks on TV like us are talking about it this morning. Tell me, what advice would you have for him, please, Dan, if you're his counsel, if you're his agent going forward the next few days and weeks here?
Well, I think it's probably advice for him and then just really anyone in that situation moving forward. There are certainly some reports trickling out about things that Sanchez may have admitted to being at the scene, maybe consuming alcohol or not having certain memories of certain events. Certainly that's probably the advice you give long term if you're involved in that type of situation. Don't admit to anything. And for Sanchez, I would think moving forward, it's probably the same advice. Lay low, keep a low profile, and hopefully this kind of rolls over. When week 5 of the NFL season, certainly people have done much worse and returned to air. And this is, seemingly the first thing that Sanchez has done to reach this particular level. And you don't reach a Fox broadcast with something like this in your particular background. And, I'm from New York. Sanchez was squeaky clean when he was here with the Jets and certainly keeps a very high profile. So I think that's the advice to Sanchez. Just let this roll over, let your attorneys do the talking for you, and hopefully, you can get back on air by the end of the season, if not sooner. But again, no guarantees here.
Right. Excellent advice, Dan. Ben Chu, let me dovetail off of something that Dan said with you, please, with dealing with these criminal allegations first, because we know that's what's on the table in the immediate future. We'll see if there's potentially a civil lawsuit. But with the public intoxication charge, we know that there's an element, according to police, I'm not saying it's true, just it's what's being alleged here, that there was heavy drinking involved. What might you do to get ahead of things for him with this criminal process? In other words, might we consider something like rehab for him? Might we consider some kind of an anger management program? I'm curious what you may do with him, Ben, if you're his lawyer right now.
Yeah, Julie, that's a great question. I agree with Dan. I think the top priority for him now has to be to resolve the criminal charges. One, get that done out of the way. Second priority is then to deal with the civil matter, try to get that settled as soon as possible. And only then can you consider public relations, contrition, going to treatment, anger management, all of those things. But I think you have to, you just, at this point, a lot of damage has been done and you just have to be patient. And the instinct is to try to resolve it all at the same time. It just can't be done. He's got to take a back seat and listen to his attorney. Hopefully he's got somebody like Dan representing him.
Great points, Ben. Thank you for that. Agreed. Charlie, let me go to you, please, for some advice for him. If you could give him any advice as somebody who's got that experience, both as an analyst and as a former NFL star, what would you say, to him if he's struggling with something or if something was behind this that we're just not sure about this morning as we have this discussion? What might you share with Mark Sanchez?
Well, I think as he's going through all of this, obviously his team is going to represent him. And like people mentioned on this segment here already, just, hey, keep your mouth shut and ultimately let your team work for you. But unfortunately, when you are a public figure, you are guilty until proven innocent. And we're all going to have these discussions until you get your day in court. It's going to be tough for him to keep his mouth quiet until he gets his true test in court. But ultimately, he's going through this. There's a lot of things that are happening before you actually can think about returning to work. So there's, just at this particular point, he just has to play it out.